Shalom to the nation of Israel. First and foremost, before I get into my lesson, I want to start off by giving all praises unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders, a great millstone that teach and that rule well today. And citation also to the fellow laborers that's in the ministry and the believers that scatter worldwide in all truth and sincerity, day in and day out. I'm the brother Shaquat Gabar, coming at you with another quick lesson. And right before I get into this lesson, this message, all these videos goes out to you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, which we are the true biblical Hebrew Israelites according to the Bible, and also to the Israelite foreigners that scattered amongst the heathen nations and that may take on a physical appearance or look of another nation. But if your bloodline goes back to Negro, Latino, or Native American descent by the seed of your father, you are considered an Israelite as well. Shalom. And basically that's what, as I open up, with this lesson, basically, we're gonna be a back to the basics. Okay, which when it comes to this subject matter or topic of this lesson is gonna be, I'll probably title it that you're gonna have Israelites looking like all nations. Okay, and the reason why I'm going into this lesson, okay, because us that's in the faith, or those that truly newly, okay, that to this truth, okay, or coming into this to the faith or the Hebrew Israelite ministry or belief, okay, and we come to the understanding, okay, that when it comes to salvation is only for the nation of Israel, which happen to be the true biblical Hebrew Israelites, Negroes, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Okay, and when it comes to this teaching, people that follow the Hebrew Israelites, or people of the world, okay, that come across the Hebrew Israelites, and when we make mention that only Israel can be saved, okay, they have a problem. They have a problem of hearing that, okay, and which is true. Only Israel can be saved, and they say that well, what about the other nations? Okay, and when it comes to the heathen nations, start with the so-called white race, okay, which are the biblical Edomites, on down to the rest of the heathen nations, such as like I say, the Edomites, the so-called whites, okay, the Chinese, okay, which is Moab, the Japanese, which are Ammon, okay, the Arabs, which are Ishmael, okay, the original Africans, which are Ham, okay, then you got the sons of Japhet, okay, which are today known as the Hawaiians, the Samoans, okay, the East Indians, okay, which is known as Elam, okay, the Syrians over there in Syria, okay, etc. When it comes to these heathen nations, okay, their future is going into captivity. Okay, once this place, America, eventually going to be destroyed at the peak of the Third World War, and also leading to the time of who the world called Christ, Yahweh Shai, second coming. Okay, by the way of the chariots, what the world called UFOs, and Yahweh Shai is only come back to redeem the nation of Israel, and at this time, the elect. Okay, and like I say, but when it comes to salvation is only for Israel. But the thing about it, you have Israelites scattered amongst all nations, okay, due to the curses, okay, and due to the Lord kicking us out of our land, okay, to the point that we're scattered amongst the heathen nations through various captivity, okay, to the point that you're going to have Israelites looking like these other nations. But your bloodline is determined by the seed of your father, man. Okay, and especially when it comes to amongst the men of great millstone, okay, where we see other nations, okay, we see appear to be heathen nations, okay, but then we try the spirit, okay, when it comes to certain Israelites that look like the heathens, okay, then you try the spirit, then you come to understanding through the spirit, a 10 out of 10, they're Israelites, man. Okay, when it comes to Israelites looking like the heathen nations. Okay, because the truth is only for Israel, and salvation is only for Israel. Okay, so like I said, you're gonna have Israelites looking like other nations as well. Okay, and vice versa. Okay, you're gonna have heathen nations. Okay, or you're gonna have Israelites looking like can be look like heathen nations as well. Because everything determined by the seed of your father, man. Okay, matter of fact, let me get this. Now we're gonna start off with Deuteronomy, but let me get this. Okay, and that's a mystery. Okay, like I said, we can kind of back to the basic. Okay, but really, and this topic is more and more deeper intel. When it comes to salvation, like I said, cause majority of the people they see the Hebrew Israelites and they just see it as especially they call us the Black Hebrew Israelites. Okay, and they just see it as oh, the Hebrew Israelites is just a black thing. Okay, but we say that the Negro, Latino, Native Americans are Hebrew Israelites, which primary, okay, or dominantly, okay, the Hebrew Israelites, okay, have that look, okay, but we also teach that you're going to have Hebrew Israelites looking like other nations, but it's determined by the seed, and it's determined by the seed of your father. Man. Okay, let me get on Numbers 1:18, and it says, and they assemble all the congregation together on the first day, the second month, and they declare their pedigrees after their families, okay, by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names, for 20 years old and upward by the poles. Okay, so this is going to Israelites. Okay, but the point is that it says that um they declare their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers. Yeah, because your bloodline goes back to your father. Okay, and when it comes to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, okay, Israel, okay, the 12 patriarchs, okay, of Israel, okay, that the promise was only given to Israel. Okay, once again, starting with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and that's determined by the bloodline. Okay, and like I say, due to the curses. Okay, well, matter of fact, let me go ahead and get into Deuteronomy chapter 28. And due to the curses, okay, which going into Deuteronomy chapter 28, okay, you have um due to our disobedient, okay, breaking the law, statute, commandments, serving false gods, idol worship of the heathenistic customs, okay, to the point the Lord, okay, kicked us out of the land of Israel, to the point that we're scattered amongst the heathen nations, okay, primarily here, dominantly here in America, okay, in different parts of the world, okay, that we scattered amongst the heathen nations. But once again, okay, your bloodline is determined by the seed of your father, okay, and to keep it simple, when I say that, because due to the Israelite men, start with the Israelite men, okay, uh, um, when it comes to being scattered amongst these heathen nations, and what do you think happened? Okay, put two to two together, okay, when it comes to Israelite men scattered amongst these heathen nations and their women, okay. Okay, so we lay down, okay, when it comes to the Israelite man, laying down with the heathenistic or the heathen women, okay, and they had children, okay, and those children, okay, might come out looking like the mother or the heathens, okay, through the generations, okay, but their bloodline goes back to their father, okay, or the Israelite man, okay. But this is Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 63. And it shall come to pass, as the Lord rejoice over you to do you good, to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you. And that's going to the Lord bringing the curses upon us, okay, due to our disobedience. Okay, so we're scattered, and one of the curses that we're scattered amongst the heathen nations, as I'm going to continue on. And it says, and to bring you to naught, and ye shall be plucked from off the land, whether thou goest to possess it. Verse 64, the point. And it says, and the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even to the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And so that's a curse, okay, for us to be scattered amongst the heathen nations, okay, kicked out of our land, okay, and to the point that now we're scattered amongst the heathen nations, okay, to the point that you're going to have Israelites looking like the heathen nations, okay. But the beautiful thing of the truth, okay, you're going to have certain individuals, like I said, that fit the description of a heathen, okay, but when they come into this faith, okay, in this word, okay, entice them or intrigue them, okay, and they get acquainted with the word, okay, through the spirit, okay, we understand, okay, you're gonna have, once again, you know, that most likely they're Israelites, okay, and you see that even amongst the camps of certain believers, okay, you can have camps, which, you know, mainly the men of Great Millstone, okay, because, you know, when it comes to Great Millstone, you got brothers that might look like, you know, so-called white, okay, or they're whites, or they look like Edomites, okay, or they might look like Philippines, okay, which, you know, majority of the Philippines or Japhet, okay, okay, amongst the, you know, the Northern Kingdom, Hispanic, Latino tribes, okay, they appear to be white, but their bloodline go back to Israel, okay, and that's one of the, you know, the mysteries, okay, of the scriptures, okay, through the spirit, that you're gonna have Israelites that's gonna cleave, okay, when it comes to those that might not have the original look of a so-called Negro, Latino, and Native Americans. Okay, and when it comes to the tribes, we all mingle amongst each other. Okay, that's why we say mainly Negro descent. Okay, Negro, Latino, and Native American descent. Okay, and so due to the curses, we are scattered amongst all the nations. Okay, and now that this word is being pushed by the way of the highways and byways, you got certain individuals that look like heathen nations that coming into the fold. Okay, but they Israelites. Okay, because their spirit connect with this truth. Okay, at one part of time we were all Gentiles. Okay, what's the word Gentile means? Strangers. Okay, because we all fell from our inheritance. Okay, as being Israel. Okay, to the point we scattered. Let me get this. And eventually all Israel gonna be changed. Okay, when it comes to Yahweh Shai delivering the elect. Okay, and you're gonna have certain elect members that gonna look like the heathen nations, but their bloodline go back to Israel, and they believe in His faith, and they're gonna be delivered. And eventually, all Israel gonna be changed, starting with the elect. But let me get this: Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 4. And thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not, for ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. Okay, so one point of time we discontinue from our inheritance, being Israelites. Okay, not knowing our true biblical nationality, not knowing the true name of the Heavenly Father and the Son in the Hebrew. Okay, being Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. Okay, not knowing about the laws, statutes, and commandments that is our custom, okay, when it comes to the covenants, okay, and to the point the Lord scattered us amongst the heathen nations, okay, due to our disobedience. Like I say, and in the process of time, okay, we let our seed, okay, the Israelite men, okay, let their seed throughout the different parts of the earth or the world, okay, when it comes to the heathen nations, okay. And it ain't just, you know, then we find out that this ain't just recently, okay. The nation of Israel always been known to mingle their seed amongst the heathen nations, okay. Even time we've been in rulership, okay, during the time mainly under uh, um, King David and King, you know, Solomon, okay, where we, you know, took the other nations' women as concubines, okay, and we laid our seed amongst the nations, okay, and through our different various, you know, captivities since then, okay, or different, you know, rulerships that we had, okay. But now here in 2025, okay, you're gonna have, like I said, you have heathen nations or Israelites looking like heathen nations, okay. Especially we make going into the dark ages when the so-called Negroes took over Europe, okay, for 1,000-year period, okay. And during that time, okay, Esau, Edom, and the heathen nation was subject unto us, especially Edom. And Esau, Edom was pushing to the Caucasus Mountains, okay, southern Georgia, Russia, okay. And where you think that we put the men into captivity? Hey, we took their women, okay. Just not only Esau, Edom, but the heathen nation that was around during that time, okay, around that area, okay. And so we had children, okay, but those children bloodline go back to Israel, okay. And like I say, also during the time of various captivity, okay, that we end up being amongst the heathen nations, mingling with them, taking on to their customs, taking their women, okay, and building families with them, okay. But once again, that bloodline is the bloodline is determined by the seed of your father, okay. So that's it on that. Like I say, so one of the curses that we were scattered amongst the heathen nations, okay. That's why the Lord said we are as the sand of the sea. But that's not that one. Let me see. Okay, here we go. Hosea chapter 1, verse 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea. Okay, the sand of the sea, because the sand of the sea, you can't number it. It's innumerable. Okay, so that's how the Lord compared Israel. Okay, and due to the point that you have our bloodline scattered amongst these heathen nations. Okay, to the point you can't actually tell. Okay, Israelite. Okay, amongst these heathen nations by a physical look. Okay, but by a spiritual. Okay, and certain, like I say, certain history. Okay, and it says, yet the number of children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living power. And that's going into this place, America. Okay, because this is where mainly we discontinue from our inheritance. Okay, that we got these false identities being put on us about by our oppressor. Okay, excuse me. Okay, when it comes to the system, labeling us blacks, Negroes, African Americans, okay, colored, okay, Puerto Rican, Cuban, Mexican, okay, Native American Indian, Seminole Indian, okay, Argentinian, okay, Guatemalan, okay, etc. When it comes to Negro, Latino, Native Americans, okay, those are false identities, okay, that our oppressor Esau, Edom, put upon us. Okay, part of us discontinue from our inheritance. Okay, but primarily discontinue from our inheritance over here in America. Okay, and where we're scattered at now. Okay, because you got some of our people believe that they're Chinese, Arabs, okay, East Indian. Okay, because due to the curse, we're scattered amongst those heathen nations to the point our people, okay, don't know their true nationality. Okay, but those that look like those heathen nations, due to this word being pushed by the way of the internet, okay, now you got camps being built worldwide, okay, and due to the internet, okay, through the spirit, you got Israelite foreigners waking up to their true nationality. Okay, they know about their bloodline, go back to Negro, Latino, and Native American descent, and furthermore, know that they're Israelites now. Okay, and it says, the remnant going into the elect, because ultimately the elect at this time is going to be delivered, which considered the 144,000 and the 1/3 that's destined to be saved. That's a Negro, Latino, and Native American descent. And that's what John saw. Okay, when it comes to the great multitude. Okay, matter of fact, let me get that. But as Revelation 7. And this is Revelation chapter 7, verse 1. And after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor the sea, nor any tree. Okay, going into the Lord, bringing the nuclear destruction. Okay, or this place America. Okay, ultimately. Okay, and when it comes to the elect, before the nuclear destruction take place, okay, the elect is going to be sealed. Okay, when it comes to the 144,000 and the 1/3, and that was verses 3. Okay, throughout verse verse 8 goes into, okay, the 12 tribes of Israel, 12,000 men out of each 12 tribes, okay, of the 144,000, okay, and certain those members of the elect of the 144,000, you're going to have uh, uh, Israelites looking like other nations that's part of it as well. Okay, but a bloodline go back to Israel. Verse 9, and after this, the point, after this I behold, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, and stood before the throne, the throne, the throne before the Lamb, and clothed with white robes and palms in their hands, and cried with a loud voice, saying, salvation to our power, or to our God, which sitteth upon the throne, unto the Lamb. Okay, and the point I want to get, verse 9, it said that great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations, kindreds, and people, and tongues. Okay, and that's going into the Israelite foreigners that may look like other nations. Okay, because once again, we're scattered amongst the heathen nations. But that great multitude of the 1/3, okay, is going to be part of the elect. Why? Because they're Israelites. Okay, once again, your bloodline is determined by the seed of your father. We read that earlier in Numbers chapter 1, verse 18. Okay, so this is what John had saw, that great multitude, okay, of those that may look like other nations, okay, of our people, but that's going to be delivered when it comes to the elect. So that's it on that. Yeah, because all is going to be changed eventually. All is going to get our original look back of a Hebrew Israelite, okay, which which dominantly Negro, Latino, Native American look, okay, but all is going to be changed. Matter of fact, let me get this. I'm gonna get straight to the point. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 51. And it said, well, I started at 50. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 50. Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of Yahweh by Shem Yahushai, neither do corruption inherit incorruption. Going into these flesh that we have now. Okay? When it comes to, as an Israelite, having the original look of a Negro, Latino, Native American, or Israelite that may look like a heathen nation. Okay, all of it is corrupt. All the flesh is corrupt. Okay, because when it comes to salvation, okay, Israel, all is going to be changed from being mortal into immortality. Okay, and we all Israel going to get the original hue or look back. Okay, especially brothers that are members of the elect that may look like heathen nations. Okay, that might have not the typical look of a so-called Negro. And it said, behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump. For the trump shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. Okay, and so that point I wanted to get, that all is going to be changed. Okay, us or the hopeful elect, or eventually the elect that be delivered by being beamed up into those chairs. Okay, when it comes to the elect. And the 2/3 of our people, okay, according to the scriptures, yeah, they're going to be judged. Because the 2/3 at this time, because only the elect are going to be delivered, because 2/3 of our people are going to be judged here in America. Those are Negro, Latino, and Native American descent. Okay, even of our people that look like these heathens, okay, the 2/3 of them going to be judged. Okay, but the beautiful thing about it, okay, when this kingdom is established, okay, the 2/3 are going to come back being the sons and daughters of the elect. Okay, and they're going to come being born into everlasting life or immortality. Okay, but it starts with the elect being changed. Okay, so it doesn't matter your look, or it's all about the spirit. Okay, and that you are the bloodline of Israel. Okay, so that's it on that. And that's what his word is for. Okay, the nation of Israel. And here's a couple examples. That you had Israelites scattered amongst the heathen nations, even back then. Okay, during the time of Yahweh Shai time, okay, and prior to that, okay, you had Israelites scattered amongst the heathen nations, or mingled in with the heathen nations. Let's get this. This is Acts chapter 2, and I'm gonna start off at verse, because this is going in the time of Pentecost. Okay, you had men of Israel, okay, Jews. Okay, matter of fact, let me go ahead. I'll start at verse 1. Acts 2 and 1. And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all one accord in one place. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven as a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house with where they were sitting. Okay, going into the 12, okay, or the apostles at that time. Okay, minus Judas Iscariot, because he was replaced by Matthias. Okay, and it says and when it comes to the believers at this time holding Pentecost, okay, with the rest of the 12, okay, and it said, and it appeared unto them clothed tongues like a fire, and set upon each of them, and they were all filled with the Holy Spirit. They began to speak with other tongues, meaning other languages, okay, or languages, okay, as the Spirit gave them utterance, okay, because matter of fact, and it says, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men, okay, so these going to once again the bloodline, okay, devout men, righteous men, out of every nation under heaven. So out of every nation under heaven, okay, showing that it was Israelites, but it was scattered amongst the heathen nations, okay. And the tongues going into languages, okay, so certain languages that they gave the custom to speaking amongst those heathen nations, okay. But when they came to Jerusalem, the Lord Yahweh Shem Shah performed a miracle with the 12, that all of them start speaking Hebrew, okay. And it says, and now when this was noise abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language. And they were amazed, they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, behold, are not all these which speak Galilean? Yeah, because the Galileans, okay, Israelites amongst the Galileans, they spoke Hebrew, okay. And it says, and how hear we every man in their own tongue wherein we were born. Okay, so they understood each other languages. Okay, but mainly the Hebrew. All of them started speaking in the Hebrew. Okay, which showed the Lord power. Okay, the miracle. Here's the point I want to get. Okay, where those men came from. Okay, those Israelite men. Okay, verse 9. And it says, and it said, wherein we were born. Verse 9. Corinthians, okay, and Medes, Elamites, and dwelling Mesopotamium, okay, so these are would be known as heathen nations, okay, where Israelites was scattered amongst at that time, okay, and it says, and in Judea, and in Cappadocia, and in Pontus, Asia, okay, Pergagah, Malala, in Egypt, okay, and in the parts of Libya, about Saran, and strangers of Rome, Jews and proselyte, Greeks and Arabians, where do we do hear them speak in other tongues, the wonderful works of Yahweh. Okay, Bashim Yahushai. Okay, the whole point I want to get, you had Israelites scattered even at that time amongst those foreign countries, okay, outside of Jerusalem, where mainly those foreign countries was nations, heathen nations that dwelt. Okay, and so those men, they had family, okay, their wives, okay, when it comes to their wives had been other nations or other nations, okay, and their children probably took the look of other nations, okay, but it was Israelite men that came the whole Pentecost during the time of Jerusalem, okay, out of these various countries that they dwelt among, okay. So even back then you had Israelites scattered, okay, outside of Jerusalem or Israel, okay. So that's it on that. Let's get this one. This is Isaiah chapter 11 verse 10. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. Okay, a sign for the people. Okay, and the root of Jesse represent the Israel. Okay, because we know the root of Jesse goes to back to David. Okay, King David. Okay, there you have Solomon. Okay, we know that Yahushua came from the root of Jesse by the root of David. Okay, the seed of David. Okay, and the seed of David at this time, or the house of David at this time, represent the elect of the nation of Israel. Okay, and in that day shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. Yeah, in this case, the Gentiles representing the Israelite foreigners. Okay, that's going to come back in this time. Okay, those that may look like, okay, heathen nations. Okay, but going to seek through the spirit and the power of Yahweh Shema Shai. Okay, through the spirit, the true understanding of their nationality, that their bloodline, okay, which they know go back to Negro, Latino, and Native American descent by the seed of their father, even if they have physical proof, or through the spirit, because everything is of the spirit through faith. Okay, that's how we have the understanding, us that's in the faith, to determine, okay, when it comes to an Israelite that may look like another nation, but their spirit, okay, connect with the truth. Like I say, 10 out of 10, they're Israelites, man. Okay, and it says, and his rest shall be glorious, and it shall come to pass in that day, okay, here's the point, that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, start with the elect. Okay, the second time going into Yahushua's second coming, redeeming the elect. Okay, which shall be left from Assyria, from Egypt, from Pontus, and from Cush, from Elam, from Sinai, from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. And so that's going into Israel scattered amongst all the heathen nations, man. Okay, but the Lord gonna redeem the elect amongst the nations. Okay, starting here in America, and where the elect is scattered worldwide. Okay, by the way of the Lord, once again, his second time on the second coming, redeeming the elect by the way of the chariots. Okay, and once again, all Israel eventually gonna be changed, but starting with the elect being changed. Okay, and he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Okay, the envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversary of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. So going into how the Lord going to bring all the tribes together. Okay, start with the elect. Okay, those are Negro, Latino, and Native American descent. Okay, and I hope that this lesson, making sense. Okay, edifying. Cause I ain't wanted to trying to keep it basic, but through the spirit, you see how it, go. Okay, cause it's more like a mystery, man. Okay, because you got a lot of our people, the world, they just see the Hebrew Israelites labeled as black, and they just thinking that salvation just only changed to Negro. Okay, you got certain Israelites out there, don't accept the Israelite foreigners looking like the heathen nations. Okay, you got Israelites out there that not accepting the Hispanics, Latinos, and Native American tribes as Israelites, black only Israelites. Okay, but for majority of our people in the world, when they come across the Hebrew Israelites, and we say that salvation only for Israel, okay, they just thinking that it's just only for so-called blacks, okay. But here, amongst the men of great millstone, we'll start with the men of great millstone, the brother on down. Now, we tell you that your bloodline is determined by the seed of your father. Okay, when it comes to Negro, Latino, and Native American descent, and you're gonna have Israelites as well, looking like heathen nations. Okay. Yeah, but that's all through the spirit. Okay, and the elect is going to get that. Okay, so that's it on that. So there were various other countries that we read just now in Isaiah 11 and 10 and 11. Okay, Isaiah 11 and 10 and 11 about how the Lord going to set his hand the second time. Okay, let me see. Because I don't want to make this video too long. Let's get this. This is Tobit chapter 3 verse. This is Tobit chapter 13 verse 3. Confess him before the Gentiles, you children of Israel, for he has scattered us among them. Okay, so another scripture show you that Israel is scattered. amongst the heathens, okay, the Gentiles, okay. But the Lord once again going to deliver the elect at this time, okay, from amongst the heathens, okay, starting with here in America and the elect that's scattered worldwide. And like I said, it doesn't matter your skin color, okay, your physical look. It's determined by the seed of your father, a Negro, Latino, Native American descent, and most of all, faith. Okay, how the Lord is going to deliver the elect. And once again, all going to be changed. Matter of fact, I get this and I get ready to close. This is Matthew chapter 24, verse 30. And it says, and then, I start at verse 29. And it says, immediately after the tribulation of the days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And it's going to in the time of Yahweh's second coming, and also during the time of the thermonuclear destruction of this place, leading to this place America being destroyed totally. And once this place America totally destroyed, it's never going to be inhabited again by nations. It's going to become a desert, by desert-like a desert. And one thing that's going to inhabit this place is desert-like creatures once the fire and smoke dies down, okay. And when it comes to the land of Israel, okay, the land of Israel going to be destroyed, or be cleansed by the way of missiles as well, okay, just for it to be habited again by the true rightful owners, okay, because the people that's over there are not the original inheritors when it comes to Esau, Edom, or Amalek, okay, even though you're going to have Israelites, Negro, Latino, Native American descent amongst them, okay, that show you once again, you know, a mystery, okay, but as a whole, okay, those Amalekites or those Edomites over there, that land gonna be destroyed just for it to be cleansed by the cleansed and be built up by the rightful owners, okay, or be inherited by the rightful owners, which happen to be so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native American descent, okay, Israel, okay, and the ones that's going to build it up are these heathen nations, okay, because that's the future of these heathen nations, captivity, okay. The original Gentiles or strangers or heathens, okay. And it says, verse 30, at verse 30, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, okay, by the way of the chariots, okay. Then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Okay, that's going to the four winds, going into the world, around the world, where the elect is scattered at. But the nation of Israel, starting with the nation of Israel, is scattered at, but the elect only being redeemed, starting here in America, okay, and where the elect is scattered at, okay. And when it comes to these other countries, amongst these other nations, okay, we read that in earlier, Revelation chapter 7, okay, starting at verse 1, okay, throughout what the verse 9, okay, 1 to 9, okay. And so I just wanted to go into this quick lesson, hope that it was edifying, hope it wasn't all over the place, because it is a kind of like a deep topic, okay, or can be a controversy topic. And when we tell our people that, and tell the world that salvation is only for Israel when it comes to Negro, Latino, Native American descent, Negro, Latino, Native Americans, okay, but also the descent, okay, to the point that you're going to have Israelites looking like heathen nations due to the curses and where we've been scattered to now throughout generations, okay, the Israelites that look like heathen nations, okay, but those that's of the elect is going to be grafted in and eventually going to be of the fold, man. Okay, why? Because they Israelites, man. Okay, and once again, all Israel going to be changed, okay? And those are the 2/3 of our people. When it comes to the average Negro, Latino, Native American, okay, they're going to be judged. Right along with those that look like heathen nations, okay, they're going to be judged of the 2/3, okay? But the thing is, eventually all Israel going to be saved, okay, once the 2/3 come back in the kingdom, being the sons and daughters of the elect, okay? So, I'm going to go ahead and end the lesson here. And I pray that the lesson will edify. Till next time, Lord willing. Shalom to the hopeful elect. Shalom.